What I got wrong. I didn't think Drake London would have a big day. He had 6 for 67 and a touchdown. Playing a lot of those plays, zone coverage, over against Jair, touchdown against Jair. You still see, I think, Jay Alexander's sitting here right now, but she's going to let me press up against that guy. I feel real confident in him. I don't want to play, you play off man, give a big man momentum, all these kind of things. I was wrong about that, though. I thought he'd have 1 or 2 catches. They played exactly what they did in the first play of the game. Just give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage to get his stats up. I thought that was going to be that kind of game for him. He outplayed my expectations for sure in that situation. The other thing I got wrong was I thought the defensive line was going to overwhelm their offensive line. After watching the Carolina Panthers game and how they just beat the brakes off that offensive line and how much help they had to bring in, I just thought from a game plan standpoint, the way that we prepared to play the tackles in particular just made very, very little sense. The more bull rushes you get on that guard, that left guard, that rookie, sometimes doing the same thing over and over isn't fun, but it sure as hell is effective. And we could have been a lot more effective in that part, just doing the basics of pass rush over and over and over again. I was very, very surprised. Quay Walker had 17 tackles, 8 solos. Devondre had 14 total tackles, 7 solos. Your linebackers are making plays, but they're making plays in bunches, and a lot of them are pretty far down the line of scrimmage because Bijan Robinson and company were so good, and we gave those guys an opportunity to do what they do best, which is run the football. They have some tight ends that can run block as well. Jonnu Smith, I think, is a really big talent in this league. He's undervalued. But those are, everything else we kind of saw what was going to happen. It's just a question of whether or not they wanted to get it done. And so how do you get back on track? Offensively, the running game has to improve. Last week, take out the quarterback, 2.9 yards a carry. This week, 3.2 yards a carry. This week, for me, we talked about it. Game plan doesn't make sense. Given your personnel, does not make sense. Don't run against their good. Run against their bad. Execution was poor, particularly on the backside. Some of those head scratchers, the 3rd-and-1 play, it's a head scratcher. Now, they could be executing wrong, but just like, we're not trying to drive a wedge here on a lead play. Defensive line, you've got so much talent. You have to take advantage. When you're playing against an offensive line that I would just say is in the bottom half of the league, you have to take advantage. You took advantage last week with Justin Fields. It seems like now when you watch Justin Fields, you watch him this past weekend, it seems like everybody's taking advantage of him. So you have to kind of reassess how good you felt about yourself because of that Bears game versus now. I think we left a lot of meat on the bone as far as the damage we could have done on the individual level, winning individual matchups in the context of the scheme that they're trying to run. Packers defensive line versus the Falcons offensive line, 33 pass attempts, only 1 sack. Yes, Britter was great. Yes, he was elusive, but we gave up contain. We were too high. There's a lot of things that could have gone better. And then the third thing, just from a game plan standpoint, whether this is a Joe Barry question or schematically, we just leveraged numbers. There were some things that miscommunications. You see the Rashawn Gary play for the touchdown on Ritter. Like, there's some things that aren't right. And that's part of the game, trying to get this stuff right. But again, the high of how you're playing against the Bears and how good you feel, and then the reality of this isn't a top-tier offense, but we made them in some parts of the game look better than they were. Last thing we'll do today, listener questions. I have a couple. I think I've already hit this one. What's wrong with A.J. Dillon? A.J. Dillon is who he is. He lowered his shoulder on some linebackers on a downhill play and made runs. He pushed the pile. He did all that kind of stuff. He's not an elusive shifter running back. He's 250 pounds. He's going to play downhill. If you make him stop his feet behind the line of scrimmage, he's not a very effective player. He hasn't been. He's not regressing. This is just who he is. If you make him stop his feet behind the line of scrimmage, he is not going to get yards for you. The Falcons did a really good job of that by changing the line of scrimmage at the defensive end versus tight end position, by winning one-on-one matchups at the line of scrimmage, Calais Campbell versus our tackles, Grady Jarrett versus our tackles or versus our guards. If you make him stop his feet, he's not as effective. They just did a good job of that. That's all I think that was. Why swap Yosh and Walker mid-series? Again, I thought they might be doing that for the U Bacon stuff, but I have no idea. I've never seen it. I've seen people switch be in between tiers. I think that's a bad idea, but some coaches like to do that. They want to develop. I don't know if this is the time to develop in the middle of the game. I don't know if maybe there's roster bonuses I'm not aware of, but I just think for me. If I was playing, I wouldn't want it. I'd rather be on the. I'd rather be on the. If I didn't earn the right to play, then I get that, and the other guy beat me. I get that. If it's like oh, you guys are both doing well. We want to give you both an opportunity. I had to do that with Joe Andruzzi. I never got that. Doesn't make any sense. We both hated it. Why do we run? Why are we so conservative with the lead in the fourth? Listen, every team's got a 4-minute drill. You're just trying to take minutes off the clock, get first downs. You saw when we brought Rasheed Walker in, he played in the tight end as a six man. It's the age old problem. If you take your foot off the gas, you give them an opportunity to catch up. It's what you're hoping is you have this like power running game package. So it's like under center. We're running old 96 power load, or you're running your gap stuff. You're running your middle zone. You're running your downhill plays. And then you can run the bootleg. You can run the misdirection, and you just get like the easy passes so you don't stop the clock. You're trying to do that. You're trying to create that. But in order to create that, you have to average 5 yards a carry. You have to be consistent. You have to have a very flat line running game where you're always getting your benchmark. You're not, you don't have a 9-yard carry and a 1-yard carry where your coach is like, I don't know what to call because it's a coin flip every time. Last one here, and this is, people ask about Joe Barry. Listen, this is again one of those games where, and it's at the pro level, you don't really know. So we know, like in that first 4th and 1, the numbers game was wrong. Like they had leverage on us. And then you see the RPO for the touchdown. They've got numbers. Like we don't have a solution for that problem. The solution would be like somebody has to defeat their block and win, right? It's not like we don't have a gap covered up because they're using all 11 players. Then you see on the next 4th and 1, exact same play, and Savage shoots, and we're not taking that guy out. Like that's not a Joe Barry thing. So there's a number of things on this tape, and we don't know what the pass rush. Why are you going so high? Is that a Joe Barry thing to go above the quarterback? Is that a defensive line? Is the defensive line coach saying, "Oh, we want to get around this guy," or do we want to get to this guy and press his outside shoulder so we can push the pocket? I've seen both. People will justify their actions for both. We don't know. We don't know if that's what Egenbari thinks is a good idea, or is that what they're being taught? But all this stuff clearly, really a kind of a dose of reality, I think, with a lot of this stuff, coupled with, I think, Desmond Ritter's best game, and then obviously the emerging Bijan Robinson, how talented he is, just set us up for a bad situation. Things will be a lot better with David Bakhtiari. And just for the first sack of the game, I think the only sack the Packers gave up when the linebacker came through on the augmented AA gap blitz. Bakhtiari picks that play up, ball's out. Like little things like that add up over the course of the game, whether it's field position hits, you have a little bit of, you remember, it's not PTSD, but you remember plays that happened before, and they kind of sit in the back of your head. Like, am I going to get hit again? Do I need to get this thing out quick? All those things factor into how the quarterback plays. So a lot of that just can be tempered with, we can take the top off of Christian Watson. Jenkins is back. Bakhtiari's back. Aaron Jones is like, you can get well, but now I think we're going down and playing the Saints. And it's like, can you get well during the against a good Saints team that's probably feeling pretty good about themselves? New quarterback, first real I think real viable option they've had down there since Brees. Maybe a couple of years, before Brees was actually retired. So Carr's a guy that I think you can probably sit there and go, I feel good about our prospects now. So we already talked about what, picking up the pieces, the areas of opportunity, what to get better at. I think really, I'm always get back to the basics of the sport. Get really good at filling your lane. Get really good at defeating blocks, tackling, footwork. Easy sport, man.